You may not know this about me, but as a child, I was overweight. It's not surprising. I'd gone from being a sporty child to an apathetic teenager with a very sweet tooth. I was self-conscious about my body, and having to go to the GP to be weighed, it's mortifying even to remember now, and told I needed to lose weight only made it worse. So when I saw the advice that we should be more careful in the language we use to overweight children, I could immediately relate. Public Health England says we should avoid the word obese and talk to children in more positive terms, like lifestyle and healthier weight status. The backlash has, I'm looking at Carol, already begun. But 1 in 3 children now leaves primary school obese or overweight. And years of sending home dreaded fat letters to parents stigmatising obesity has done nothing to solve the problem. Children's bodies are the symptoms, not the cause, of our failure as a society to produce and market healthier food and more active lifestyles. It's bad enough they're paying the price. The least we can do is treat them with care.
As you say to me every week, dear. Okay. We do not stigmatise overweight kids. We do the opposite. We mollycoddle overweight kids. We lie to them. We pretend that they don't have a problem. And you're talking about this alternatively sized and healthier weight status. That's just nonsense. It's not, you don't tell the child they're overweight, you tell the parents that they're overweight because it's the parents' fault. When a kid is young, kids don't go to the supermarket and buy junk food. They're not the ones who feed themselves, their parents feed them. And for me, for a parent putting their head in the sand and not seeing that their child is dangerously overweight. I mean, you said before, 1 in 3 kids leave primary school obese. 1 in 10 leave dangerously overweight, and that's primary school. Now, parents should be told in no uncertain terms that by not getting their kids to eat healthily, they're lining them up for a life of heart disease, of osteoporosis, of arthritis, diabetes, another one, lung disease, breathing problems, everything, all of these things. This is what they're doing to their child. For me, it's tantamount to child abuse. When I see parents with really overweight kids, I feel desperate for the kids because all they're doing is eating what their mum and dad give them. So for me, that is one problem. Secondly, Public Health England and all the other organisations in the NHS that say they want to tackle obesity, they don't want to tackle it at all. They want to pander to people. We cater for obesity now. People who are fat, it's no one's fault, it's no one's responsibility, it's just a problem that's said. No, it's not. It happens because you eat too much and don't exercise enough. You were once a fat person, I am a fat person, and I know exactly why I'm overweight, and I know exactly what to do to solve it. And it's not a disease, it's not an addiction, it's an self-inflicted condition which we could solve ourselves.
I think Nick's keen to come in. Before he does, I just want to contextualise what is going wrong here, because it's actually not as extreme what has to happen for a child to be overweight as you might think. So here I've got some fruit shoots.
Yeah.
These are things that specifically I can speak from first-hand experience, appeal to children.
Yeah.
17% sugar in one bottle.
But you can read. People can read.
It says it's one of your 5 a day. How can it be?
It also says on it, it says as well it's got schools compliant. Don't know what that means. Look at this cute little Freddo.
Oh, I love Freddo.
Do you know
I
how
love
much?
Freddo.
10 grams of sugar. Now, if a child... You can have that after the show, Michelle, leading by example. And if a child has one fruit shoot and one of these in a day, that is the entire allowance of sugar for a 7 to 14-year-old for a day. Just that, let alone all this other stuff that kids love. Frosties, another one of my personal favourites. And this... I used to eat these in the 80s and they're still going. Dib Dab, it's basically pure sugar. Each pack has 18 grams of sugar. That's almost the entire intake in itself.
Parents can read that. The kids are... It's not an accident if they eat that. It's because on the back of every packet it says... I think what would be better if manufacturers put a teaspoon on the back of the packet and said 6 teaspoons of sugar, because I don't know what 6 grams looks like. I've got no idea. But that would be shocking. In the same way, do you remember with cigarettes? People, when we put the price of cigarettes, people still bought them. When we started putting pictures of rotting swelling lungs and cancerous throats, it became a naff thing to do, to smoke, and that's what we need to do.
I want to bring everyone else in, but I just want to say, Carol, I mean, we basically agree, but what I'm saying is that the language that you use is important, because if you tell kids that their parents are obese, the parents tell the kids that they're obese.
No,
and
they
it
don't.
Ends up
No, they don't have to.
What we're doing now is not working, Carol, because we still have one of the highest rates of obesity in Europe.
But it's not working because we don't tackle it head on.
We do.
We're too scared. It's
we
too
send
much
fat
political
letters home
correctness
to
about
parents.
fat.
Let's just see, because I think, Carol, we need... You say that the NHS doesn't... Well, Public Health England doesn't want to tackle obesity. I think they probably do. This is what they say. Public Health England, take care with the language you use. Keep it as positive as possible and focus on terms such as healthier weight status and healthier lifestyle. Terms such as obese are not generally well accepted by parents/carers when talking about their child's weight. Public health... In one second. And I think, again, you're both right, actually, here, because... You can't call children fat or obese.
Not to their faces.
No, but equally you can't use expressions such as, what is this, a healthier weight status. No. It has to be, both sides have to be feathered, because if you, and I choose this expression to be, if you sugarcoat the message, you won't get through to the child. You really won't. And that's
can I just say, if someone had cancer, you wouldn't dream of not telling them they had cancer. You wouldn't pussyfoot around it. You would tell them. If someone is overweight, you have to tell them, no, they're not. They're both killers.
The difference is...
They're both killers.
That if you're overweight, you can heal yourself by being healthy.
Exactly.
And that's why talking about a healthier lifestyle...
But we've done that.
...is the solution. No, we're not doing it.
We've been doing that for... Oh,
that's what this is about, Carol. I don't know if you heard what I said, but NHS England is saying...
Yeah,
move away from talking about obesity to moving towards...
2 years ago said the same thing.
On what they can do about it, which is to be healthier.
Nice 2 years ago said exactly the same thing.
But parents do need to use their own brains as well, don't they?
Yeah.
If you've got a kid that is, on the big side, to put it nicely, if you keep pumping it full of stuff like that, the child is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you do need to be saying to the parent, look, do you realise that if your child continues to be overweight, it's going to get, or the child has the potential to have, the diabetes, this, that and the other. Because maybe a lot of parents don't realise that they're going to create potentially those, chronic illnesses going forward. But if you're a parent who has an overweight or obese child and you do keep providing sweets and treats like that, you are in the wrong.
I mean, I can tell you which parents are affected most, because in the most affluent areas, 11% of 11-year-olds are obese or overweight, and in the most deprived areas, it's 26%.
But I
Can I just counter that? There was a Leeds Metropolitan University did the biggest study of its kind on obese kids. 14,000 children over 3 years they looked at, and they completely contradict what you said. They have said that the children in the middle affluent areas of Leeds were more likely to be very overweight than those in the very poor or the very wealthy postcode areas. That completely blows that myth.
It doesn't, because what I've given you is a national statistic, not about Leeds, but it's not an argument, Michelle.
14,000
It's a statistic that in the country as a whole, a quarter of 11-year-olds from the most deprived areas are overweight. I was not from a deprived area, and I was overweight. I'm not saying only people from poor backgrounds
are. Not calling a fat child fat is going to solve the problem. It's to do with the fast food, it's to do with the availability of food, it's to do with large... giant bars of Cadbury milk at checkout, given away with your Daily Telegraph. Other newspapers are available. It's all of those things. When I was probably your age, I mean, my mum, we all lived in Belgium, and my mother took us all to the doctor, and the doctor said, Mrs. Johnson, all your children are fat. I don't know what he said, gros, ils sont tous gros, or something like that. And we were put on skimmed milk. So we were told, to our faces we were fat, and we were told we had to cut down.
And look at you now.
And it sort of works.
You can't... Did you have a problem with your children?
Well, I think as a mother, and I think you lose the argument as soon as you say it as a mother, it is so much harder than you think, Carol, to try... Because you can't control everything they eat. They go to school, they have pocket money, they go to friends' houses. You have to try... It's all about healthy eating lessons, but it's also about... the manufacturers and the retailers taking responsibility for this crisis as well.
But everything in your house and everything you give your kids for packed lunches, I am sure, does not contain all that sugar. And I think that's responsible parenting, to make sure that's not what you're giving your kids.
Can I have that Freddo, please?